Before we get into this story, if you enjoy real basketball breakdowns that go deeper than headlines and actually explain why teams win or fail, make sure you're subscribed to the Ball IQ Zone. You don't want to miss what this season is quietly teaching the entire NBA. This is Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers to ever touch a basketball. Last season, he gave you 26.5 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, elite efficiency, and exactly what you expect from a future Hall of Famer. And this is Dillon Brooks. No MVPs, no All-Star selections, no All-NBA teams. A player fans have called dirty, inefficient, overrated, even a gimmick. On paper, there is no universe where swapping these two players should make a team better. And yet, that's exactly what happened in Phoenix. The Suns went from one of the most disjointed, frustrating, and disappointing teams in the league to one of the most surprising and functional groups we've seen in years. Not because they added more talent, but because, for the first time, they actually built a team that plays for each other, a team that understands roles, a team that believes in its coach. Because while the NBA is a league built on shot-making and star power, what people constantly underestimate is how much usable talent already exists in this league, and how dramatically things change when that talent is placed in the right system, with the right expectations. Look no further than Phoenix's point guard rotation. A year ago, Colin Gillespie could barely crack the rotation on a roster that was desperate for a point guard. Fast forward to now, and he's giving you 15 a night, shooting 40% from 3, confidently pulling up from deep, hitting step backs, and closing games without hesitation. This isn't random. This is what happens when a player is trusted. Even Anthony Edwards noticed it after Gillespie buried clutch shots late in games. That respect doesn't come from hype, it comes from consistency. Then there's Jordan Goodwin, a player who's bounced around the league. You're always showing flashes, never getting a real runway. Phoenix didn't try to turn him into something he isn't. They leaned into exactly what he is. Goodwin isn't on the floor to dominate the ball. He's there to create chaos, defensive pressure, offensive rebounds, second effort plays that break teams mentally. At just 6'3", he's averaging nearly 8 rebounds per 36 minutes, and almost 40% of them come on the offensive glass. That's not luck. That's identity. And this right here is where the Suns' transformation truly begins, because hustle, toughness, and belief are contagious, and the next player they brought in embodies all of it. And from here, the story gets even crazier. Dillon Brooks will never be Kevin Durant in terms of pure talent. He'll never have the scoring bag, the accolades, or the legacy. But here's the part that isn't a coincidence. Everywhere Dillon Brooks goes, teams win. And everywhere he goes, those teams develop real, physical, sometimes elite defenses. That doesn't happen by accident. Brooks brings something that doesn't show up in box scores, a mentality, the same edge, the same intensity, every single night. And that sounds obvious, right? Of course, players play hard in the NBA. They're professionals. But here's the truth most fans don't want to hear. There is a massive difference between playing with effort and playing hard. Most teams give effort. They run their sets. They close out. They compete. Playing hard is different. Playing hard means bringing the same energy on both ends, possession after possession, regardless of your role or your usage. And very few players in this league do that consistently. Dillon Brooks does. He cares. And caring in the NBA is a skill. That mindset is contagious. When your teammates see it, they feel it. They respond to it. Just look at the opening possession of a game. Amen Thompson brings the ball up and Brooks is already on him. Full court pressure, chest to chest, forcing discomfort, forcing a turnover. That's the first play of the night. That sets a tone you don't need a speech for. Or take a late game possession with 2 minutes left. Brooks isolated against shy Gilgeous-Alexander. How many players in the league not only stay in front of him, but actually force a turnover in that moment? That's not scheme. That's will. This is why Phoenix has become a top 5 defensive team. Not because of one player, but because of collective energy. Jordan Goodwin's chaos, Ryan Dunn's physicality, Mark Williams protecting the rim, Royce O'Neal doing the dirty work, Oso Ighodaro flying around everywhere. And then there's this part that doesn't get enough attention. The best player on this team, the most talented one, works just as hard defensively as everyone else. That's what separates Devin Booker. People don't think of Booker as a defender because his offensive skill is so polished that it overshadows everything else. But watch him closely. He doesn't take possessions off. He sprints back. He fights through plays. He commits to stops. Look at a sequence like this. A loose ball, Stephen Curry pushing in transition, and the moment Booker recognizes the threat, he puts his head down and chases the play until it's shut down. A lot of superstars don't do that because they know they're getting their shots and getting paid either way. And that mentality, that's exactly what defined last year's Suns. And the truth is, Devin Booker has always been this guy. He's always been willing to do the extra work for his team, even when nobody was watching or giving him credit for it. Look at a simple play like this. Booker chasing down Jake LaRavia in transition, sprinting the full length of the floor just to make a defensive play. That's not a highlight. That's commitment. And here's what separates Booker from a lot of other elite scorers. It's not just effort, it's ability. Booker has the size, he has the strength, he has the footwork. He's not a defensive liability that teams can hunt. And while he hasn't spent his entire career surrounded by Defensive Player of the Year winners, he's consistently been part of very good defensive units because he's never the weak link. You can't say that about a lot of superstars. Dillon Brooks might bring the most visible energy on this roster, but Booker's defensive work has just as much impact because it sets a standard. When your best offensive player commits on defense, excuses disappear. And that, more than anything, sums up this version of the Phoenix Suns. There are no weak links. This might sound simple, but actually look at the top 10 players on this roster. Every single one of them can play. Every single one of them understands their role. Every single one of them is bought in defensively. And outside of the bigs, they can all space the floor too. That's all space the floor too. Accidental roster building. That's intentional team construction. And this is where coaching becomes the separator. Because what we're seeing in Phoenix isn't just about effort or vibes, it's structure, it's clarity, it's accountability. And we're seeing the same thing in Cleveland this season as well. Jordan Ott was part of that Cavaliers coaching staff. Now he's in Phoenix, and the impact is obvious. He didn't walk into a loaded roster. He walked into a group of players most analysts didn't believe in. When ESPN projected the Suns to finish with just 31 wins, when they were predicted to barely outperform teams like New Orleans, most people didn't think those projections were crazy, Phoenix fans included. But that's the difference between a roster full of individuals and an actual team. Jordan Ott turned this group into a unit. He's meticulous, he studies the league. He doesn't just watch his own games, he watches everything. What works, what doesn't, where the league is going next, and the players feel that. They trust the system. They trust the game plan. They trust each other. That's why they play with confidence. That's why they play with edge. And that's why Phoenix was able to lose star power, yet somehow become better the following season. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's what happens when talent finally aligns with purpose and becomes a real team again.